Okay, Panther Cubs, it is Tuesday of week 10. If you haven't done the work already for each of the problems, please go back and finish. The word problem says Ronald has 208 Pokemon cards. Reggie has 79 less cards than Ronald. How many cards do they have all together? So please go back and do your UPSC if you haven't already. Okay, number 1 says use less than, greater than, or equal to make the statement true. So I know that I have to start at the biggest value. So I'm going to look and see. This 1 is in the thousands place. It has a value of 1,000. The first number over here is in the hundreds place. So you can't see that. So it has a value of 800. That can tell me what I'd rather have. I'd rather have $1,000 than $800. So I know that this is bigger. So 1,816 is greater than 818. Make sure that if you're looking at just the numbers, think about the values. Don't just say 1 and 8. Oh, 8 is bigger, because that's the mistake people make. And we don't want to make those silly mistakes because we know 1,000 is bigger than 800. Okay, number 2, we can't add side to side like that, so we're going to turn it up and down. 562 plus 488. Okay, 2 plus 8 is 10, but I can't put the whole 10 in the one spot, so I'm going to carry the 10 up with me, and I'm going to put the 0 ones in the one spot. Now I'm going to do 6 plus 1 is 7. Oh, and 7 plus 8. Well, I know that 7 plus 7 is 14. So if 7 plus 7 equals 14, 7 plus 8 must equal 15. So I'm going to put the 5, the ones, and carry my 10. Now I have 1 plus 5 is 6. Oh, plus 4, that's a tens fact. So I get my answer to be 1,050. Number 3 says how much money is shown. All right, so I'm looking to see how many quarters do I see, how many dimes, how many nickels, how many pennies, and then we'll add it all up. Well, I know quarter is the biggest coin, so I see 3 quarters. Dime is the very smallest coin, so I'm looking to see how many teeny tiny coins do I see, and I see 2 that are small. Nickel is the one that's not as big as the quarter, but it's the second biggest coin, and I see 2 of those. And penny is smaller than a nickel but bigger than a dime, and I see 1 of those. So if you can't really make out the faces, look at the size of the coin, okay? Because the size of the coin can tell you a lot if you remember which ones are big and which ones are small. Okay, so now we're going to add it all up. Well, if I don't know what 3 quarters is, I can do 25 plus 25 plus 25. 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15. 2, 4, 6, 7. So I know that 3 quarters is 75 cents. 2 dimes, I'm going to skip count by tens. 10, 20. 2 nickels, I'm going to skip count by fives. 5, 10. And 1 penny is just 1 cent. Make sure that 1 goes in the pennies column or the ones column, not the tens column. Now I can add it all up. 5, 0, 0 is still 5, 6. 2 plus 1 is 3, and that gives me a tens fact. 3 and 7 is 10, and 0 makes 1. So I have $1.06. Don't forget your dollar sign on there. $1.06 when I add it all up. Okay, once again, if you haven't already solved this on your own, stop the video and solve it. It says Ronald has 208 Pokemon cards. Reggie has 79 less than Ronald. How many cards do they have all together? So there's a lot of information there, and this is going to be a two-step problem. If you didn't do 2 steps, then you need to go back, pause the video, and reread the question carefully. Okay, for those of you who have done it all the way through UPSC, let's check it. So the U, the important stuff, it says Ronald has 208 Pokemon cards. That's the first sentence. Well, that sounds important because numbers are usually important. Oops, okay, that helps. Okay, Ronald has 208 Pokemon cards. The next sentence says Reggie has 79 less than Ronald. So Reggie is 79 less than Ronald. So that doesn't mean he has 79. That means he has 79 less than what Ronald has. And the question is, how many altogether? How many cards do they have altogether? So how many altogether? Okay, so before I can figure out how many altogether, I need to figure something out. So I know altogether means if I put them together. So I need to know that altogether is going to be Ronald and Reggie, but I don't know how many Reggie has. So before I can figure out altogether, I need to figure out how many cards does Reggie have. So how can I figure out Reggie's cards? Well, it tells me that it's 79 less than Ronald. I know less than is a subtracting. That means it's smaller. So if I want to make it smaller, I'm going to have to subtract. So I'm going to do Ronald and the 79 less. Which number will go first, 208 or 79? Well, double check. The bigger number always, always, always goes first. Okay, so then that gives me how many Reggie has. The question is asking me though how many altogether. So after that, I need to do Ronald and Reggie all together. Okay, so now if that wasn't your plan, go back and fix, and then we'll check the solve. Okay, so step 1 was Ronald and 79 less than Ronald. I know that the bigger number has to go on top, so that means 208 is on top. I see that there is more on the floor, so I'm gonna go next door to borrow 10 more. But no one's home next door, so I have to go all the way to the hundreds place. I'm gonna take one of my hundreds and trade it in for 10 tens. That still doesn't help me with if I have 8 ones taking away 9, but now I have a neighbor. So I'm gonna go to my neighbor and I'm gonna take one of those 10 rods and trade it in for 10 ones. I had 8, I'm getting 10 more, so I have 18. Ooh, and that's a doubles fact I know. Well, I know 9 plus 9 is 18, so using my fact family, 18 take away 9 must be 9. Okay, circle where my bigger number is. More on top, no need to stop. 9 take away 7 is 2. Circle where your bigger number is. More on top, no need to stop. So this is saying that Reggie has 129, but let's check it to make sure we got the correct answer, because if we mess this step up, then we're gonna mess up step 2. Well, there's no way step 2 then will be right unless we make another mistake. So we're gonna add, the opposite of subtraction is add, and we're gonna add the bottom number plus the middle number. 9 plus 9 is 18. 1 and 2 is 3, and 7 is 10. 1 and 1 and 0 is 2. And that's what I started with over here. So I did step 1 correctly. Now I need to do all together. So I'm gonna do Ronald, 208, and Reggie's 129, and I'm gonna put them together. So I'm gonna start with 8 plus 9, because we always start at the ones. 8 plus 9 is 17. I'm gonna put my 7 down, carry my 1. 1 plus 2 and 0 is 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. So 337 cards is our answer. Don't forget your label. We don't know if it's chickens or students or hot dogs if we don't have a label. Now we're going to check to make sure that we got our correct answer. We did addition, so we're going to check it with subtraction. We're going to take the bottom number, 337, and subtract the middle number, 129, and hopefully we get 208. So we are going to start by circling where there's more. More on the floor, go next door to borrow 10 more, and I have someone home next door. So I'm going to take one of those 10 rods and I'm going to trade it in for 10 ones. That's a fair trade. I already had 7 ones, I got 10 more, so now I have 17. 17 take away 9 is 8. Numbers the same, zeros the game. Circle where our bigger number is, more on top, no need to stop. So 3 take away 1 is 2. So that matches with what we started with. So we know that 337 is our final answer. Now, if you have finished this before it's time to rotate, you may do any of the games in the content library that deal with addition, subtraction, or multiplication, or you may do IXL in the E's as an elephant that are multiplication.